Hi everyone, it's Sarah, and I'm here today for my AMA, my Ask Me Anything. Just so you know how not cool I am, when people ask me some questions, which made me super excited, I went and dug out my card reading. This is what I use when I facilitate for leaders. So you put your notes on the cards, and then you can take this around you, you can refer to it, you can put it in your pocket. It's super cool as a facilitator. I haven't been using that because I haven't been facilitating because we're at home. But I put all the questions for the AMA here, so I'm super excited to answer them today. And I'm covering all things related to barre. So a lot of you know me from Barre with Sarah, but also related to anxiety and mental health. Adventures in Anxiety is the other vlog series that I do, and I also blog about living with mental illness. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, the first question. What do you tell yourself when you're struggling with a move and being hard on yourself? And P.S., this never happens to the question asker. First of all, I struggle with moves all the time, and generally or hopefully on camera so you can see them. And I think the meta thing I would say is that it's good if you're struggling with a move because that means you're pushing yourself and you're trying really hard to do something. One thing I notice in a lot of my classes is people never seem to struggle, but that's because they don't go deeper in the move, they're not picking up a heavier weight, they're not progressing, they're just doing the same thing over and over. And we know that the body is very efficient. And so if we don't continue challenging ourselves and shaking it up, then the body's going to get used to the activity more efficient and you're going to build less muscle, burn fewer calories. So the meta comment to this question asker is, that's awesome. If you're failing out, that means you're trying something really hard. The first thing I would say is why or what makes you want to master that move? So it could be just something that you're really excited about doing. A lot of people will do push-up challenges or maybe pull-ups. They might want to even run at a certain pace, but to understand what's driving that. So is that something that's really important to you? Is there an external reason for that? And sometimes in examining that, you might realize that it's not that particular move that matters. Maybe you have a different goal. Maybe your goal is around increasing strength in your legs, or it's around flexibility in the front shoulder and chest. So getting clear about what's important about that move might release you from some of that pressure. I would say if you look at that and still think this is really important, then how do you build up to it? So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to see if I could learn how to do the splits. I assumed that it wasn't something that I could do. It was assumed very fixed mindset. My body's not built for that. And the answer is most people can do the splits anatomically. It's just not something that you've trained your body to do. So on day one, I felt really discouraged because obviously I couldn't do the front split. And it was about breaking down the components of that move. So if I was struggling with the splits, trying to understand what are the components that would make that easier. So there's some strength involved, but a big part of the splits is both the hamstring and hip flexor flexibility. So when I realized, gosh, those aren't so fantastic, then I could break down that move and find sub pieces of the move. So doing lots of hip openers, lots of hip flexor stretches, lots of hamstring stretches, grabbing my strap, using my foam roller, and then just practicing. So again, if we can break down that move, then we feel a little bit less discouraged. The last thing is that some days it's just not going to happen. Maybe you've had a workout day when you just weren't hitting what you needed to hit. You were tired mentally or physically, your mind was somewhere else, something you had eaten was bothering you, I don't know, a butterfly flapped its wings and you weren't doing your best. So in that case, and this is a new skill for me, is to be forgiving and say, that's not where I'm at today. You don't even have to compete against yourself. Maybe yesterday you were able to lift heavy and today it's not working. To just do the best that you can in the moment. Perhaps laugh, especially if you're demoing the move to people, and then move on. So again, what makes this important to me? Maybe it's not about that move. Maybe it's a different goal. Thinking about breaking down into the component parts. And then lastly, thinking about, day to day there's variation. So giving yourself some forgiveness. So let's consult our deck for the next question. What do you do when you're not feeling like working out? This is funny. Um, and it's kind of a terrible answer, but this is not normally a feeling I have much anymore. I'm a little tired today. Actually, today's the least I felt like working out in a little while. So I try to set up the environment for healthy habits. And for me, working out helps me manage my anxiety, helps me manage my mood, helps me sleep better. It's this virtuous cycle. So I know exercise is going to be a great thing for me. What I did maybe 2 years ago is to free myself from certain activities. So I would set a goal for a typical week. So a typical non-home week, the goal would be 5 workouts a week with a possible sixth light workout, and then seventh day would be a rest day. So if I know that's the case, then I can look at that day and say, okay, well, what are my options? And then just pick any activity that made me feel happy. So if I had planned on weightlifting and I didn't feel like weightlifting, I didn't feel like working out, doing some workout is better than no workout. Another thing I put in place in the environment is I decided that I would put on my workout clothes, and if I didn't feel like working out, then I could change back into my street clothes and go home. Not surprisingly, every time I put my workout clothes on, I went and did a workout. It might not have been a great workout. Maybe it was 20 minutes instead of 45 minutes, but I went and did something. So again, setting yourself up for success and realizing that you might, as you start getting into that pattern and your body is noticing like, oh, we're getting ready to work out, that might be there for you. It's also important to think about, what really drives you to work out. Again, it's the why. Like, what's your why as to why you work out? And it could be that working out, especially overworking out, makes it decreases your motivation, and you've gone too far. So if you were just working out to feel better, and now you've gone too far, you're working out, you're becoming way too focused on your workouts to step back a little bit. The other thing we can talk about is accountability. So how do you want to hold yourself accountable? There's no right way to do that. I've noticed now that we're home for COVID, I'm just as accountable to my workouts. That's how I function. I'm very accountable to myself. So that can come across as being really rigid to some people, but that's who I am. Whereas other people really need external accountability. So they like going to a group fitness class because they'll see their friends and the instructor. I have people that come to my live classes and they've skipped a couple of weeks and they'll come up to me and they'll say, I'm so sorry for not coming to class. But that's because they feel that connection, and to them, they're disappointing me as the instructor by not coming. So getting curious about hacking your motivation as to what makes you want to work out and how do you keep yourself accountable, that can give you some signs to, again, set up your environment. So for me, it's allowing myself when I don't feel like working out to choose any activity that I want. I try to set up my environment by just getting ready to do the workout. And then if I don't feel great, I can take off the workout clothes and then go back to doing whatever I was doing. And then understanding myself and my motivation. For me, if I'm committed to it, I'll do it. If it's on the calendar, the workout's going to be done. But we're all different. No judgment. Next question. What is your dream outcome for barre teaching? Oh my gosh. I never thought I would be a barre teacher. It's a very like white woman in her 30s thing to do on the side. But it's not yoga, it's barre. I like to mix that up. I started teaching barre because my friend and barre teacher Kim suggested that I do it. It was not something that had occurred to me. And at first I just thought, oh, I'm going to sub and I'm going to help Kim out. So when she travels or she does something, I'm there. Obviously, I got way into it. And the reason that I've stuck with barre and my aspiration for it is I really believe that barre is for everybody. I started barre at a time in my life when I was really struggling with my body image and my self-image and my health. I found barre about a year and a half after I was diagnosed with my anxiety disorder, and I had not a great relationship with fitness. I was in very poor shape. And you wouldn't necessarily know that looking at me. I was like super skinny and super stressed, but I hadn't been working out. I didn't have a positive relationship with fitness, and my fitness routine before was really punishing. So every time I worked out, I had to do more. So if I ran for an hour, I had to run for an hour and 1 minute. Or if I ran for an hour and ran 5 miles an hour, the next time I had to run at least 5.1 miles in an hour. And that's friggin' exhausting, let me tell you. So I had realized that physically I was in a place where I needed a different workout. And I came to barre, and I love that barre provided me, or at least this methodology of bar amp, they're all different. It provided me the support where I was and this challenge at the same time. And it was also really focused on being practical. So you don't have to work out an hour a day. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to flip tires. There's a way that you can have fun and enjoy your workouts. And I just love the precision of bar. I love the variety of it. I don't know. I just really love it as a discipline. So the reason my dream as a bar teacher is actually quite modest. And there's two parts. One is that everyone that comes into my class feels welcome and they know that this is a place for them and that bar is something that they can do. I have people who were formerly competitive athletes, competitive dancers. I have people that come to my classes who've never been to a fitness class or a gym before. This is their first experience. I want everyone in that space to feel that they're welcome and to walk away feeling more confident about themselves. And then for those people, especially that I get to know over time that and develop a longer relationship with it, it's to help them see how they can have a really positive relationship with fitness, that it doesn't have to be punishing, that it can be really rewarding, it can be fun, that you can laugh, you can have dance breaks, that, and even when you're not a strong natural dancer, it's okay. Those are the things that I want them to see. And just to say that there are different ways to work out. And bar doesn't have to be your way. Maybe that's not the way that you think about it, but that's okay. That you find some sort of exercise and physical practice that's rewarding and rejuvenating to you. That's my dream. Everyone feels welcome, and those people I connect with understand the story as to why, and they can find that for themselves. Maybe in bar, maybe not. Okay, we move on. Switching gears, although we alluded to this in the last question. I know you struggle with anxiety because you've told me, and a lot of other people. But I see you master all kinds of things with grace and a smile. That is the nicest thing anyone said about me in a while. Have you ever melted down at work or in public? Or can you hold it in until a safe place? What are your tricks for regulating? Oh my goodness. So backstory, for those of you who know me from bar, but not from Adventures in Anxiety, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2014, a little more than 6 years ago. And that came after a mental breakdown / spiritual awakening, thanks Brene Brown, on the bed of my hotel in California on a work trip. And I spent probably 18 months after that completely redesigning my life, and I'm still learning things about myself 6 years later. So my anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, generally shows up as a higher level of anxiety sustained over a period of time. It's not related to any specific events that necessarily I can pinpoint. There are certainly stressors and triggers, but it's just a heightened sense of awareness, like you're always on. That's me. I'm always on. And sometimes, especially in the beginning times of a lot of stress, I do get acute panic attacks. And those are, I think, probably what this person is referring to with the meltdowns. Have I ever melted down at work in a public place? Yes, absolutely yes. I've melted down on a plane before. That was great. I melted down or had a huge anxiety attack at work. It was actually a team building event. We were going into one of those escape rooms, and confinement in general is something that I find really triggering. Anyway, it was just a not great situation. I have melted down on family vacations. I have melted down with my family. So the answer is yes, I have. And I used to see it very differently. I used to see that as a failure. So in a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the things you learn is how to notice the symbols, the signs that these things are going to happen. And they're physical sensations. There also might be thoughts that you have, persistent negative thoughts. And the idea is that as you learn to recognize them, it's possible you can catch them before they escalate into that full-blown panic attack. At the beginning, it felt like I was just along for the ride. I felt like I had no control at all. It was so hard. And I saw that as a failure, that I couldn't control it. I remember early on having a couple of panic attacks at work and I would go to my car. And I remember one of them, it was so off the charts for me. And I asked my now husband to come and sit with me. And I took a Valium, which just that was the end of productivity for the day. Like once you take anything like that. And I felt like a huge fat failure. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like it was a learning experience. So back to the point, Sarah. The point is that what I try to do now is I try kind of the regulating is I know my signs and my signals. I can catch them really soon. And they're specific to you. For me, I start getting hot, especially my feet. Maybe a little bit sweaty. I'm going to be respirating faster. My hands might get sweaty. I kind of have this lightheaded, out of the body feeling. So if I can sense those things, then I need to think about how do I start down regulating. I take off my shoes. I'm not kidding you. Or I take off a sweater. This is, by the way, why I always dress like it's 15 degrees warmer than it is. Because you're setting up, again, I was talking about shaping the environment. Like I behavior hack my anxiety, which is, okay, this is what it looks like. Again, trying to, if I can extricate myself in a calm way from the situation, to walk around, get some fresh air, get a snack, take care of those needs. I try to do that. Part of that was just the fear of what people would think of me if that's what was going on. I'm much more confident now in who I am. I'm much more confident in speaking openly about mental illness because that's part of who I am. And as I shared in an Instagram post earlier this month, is that I'm stepping away from that frame of mental illness because it's constraining. I have a different outlook on the world, and there are positive things to that, and there are challenges to that, and it is what it is. The other thing that I've learned is that in that regulation, sometimes there's a point when I've not been mindful, when I'm not paying attention to it for good reason, generally, that there's not much I can do to stop it. It's just going to happen. This sometimes happens to me still the day before we travel. Well, when we used to travel, when getting on planes was a thing. Most of the time before a big international trip, I'll have a big panic attack the night before. And I used to try to regulate it, and that made it worse. So thinking about melting down, sometimes the only way out is through. And you just realize, okay, this is happening. And even in recognizing and accepting that it's happening, you can kind of go from self to object, and you can step outside of it and see it happen and be like, okay, this is happening. And that's when it's important for me to have people near me who can help care for me, who are going to help me get through it. But then it's also the confidence of saying, yeah, you've done this before. We've seen this. We know what happens. And it feels awful when it's happening, but in 30 minutes, I'll probably be okay. So sometimes you can catch the signs. You can downregulate with breathing or the other things that you do to feel better. Sometimes you can't. And a big part of this depends on how open you are with the challenges that you're having. Last question. What are you excited for now? Oh my gosh, so many things. So many things. On the fitness side, I'm starting Jump with Sarah, which is rebounding a barre together. That's launching on Thursday, the 21st. It's next Thursday. Really, really excited. It's going to be on this channel. Very, very excited about that. From the anxiety side, what I'm excited to just be safe. And this is week 10, starting week 10 at home. Very excited to be safe with that. And to do all the little things that help me cope. Putting together the jigsaw puzzles, building my new massive Lego Millennium Falcon, watching the birds. I have very simple pleasures right now because we're stuck in the house. Cooking, a lot of cooking. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about is just continuing to learn, continuing to push and grow. I tend towards growth rather than celebration. So I'm trying to take some time to recognize when I grow, wow, look what's happened. but there are always opportunities. And it's, as someone who's really self-directed, sometimes I drive a little bit too much. So it's been nice to sit back and think about what's next. A few things that I'm considering. So I'm still working on my German. German is really hard, really, really hard, much harder than Spanish and French were. I'm still working my way through reading a book from every country in the world. I think I'm at 33 right now. Haven't made a lot of progress. Being stuck inside, having the opportunity to be inside. I'm reading some more escapist type things. A lot of books in translation are a little bit heavier. I'm also looking into my group fitness and personal training certification. Not that I'm going to be a personal trainer. I'm doing group fitness, so getting that certification will be nice. But continuing just to get excited and curious about the body and the way that it works. And the more that I get into training, thinking about what else would I want to do. So those are some of the things I'm considering, but who knows? Something else might appear tomorrow and I'll get super excited. So that is it. Thank you for asking your questions, and I'm so excited. You have no idea how excited I am that I got to do a little AMA. It's so fun. If you have other questions about barre, if you have questions about anxiety, if you have just any questions in general, I'm happy. I've got more cards. I can do another AMA. So be well, be safe, everyone. Hope to see you at the barre, or maybe I'll do another anxiety vlog soon to give you an update. Thanks, everyone. Bye.